First, you're going to want to frost your cake. So take a small amount of frosting on the end of your craft stick and spread it into the center of your cake board. If you haven't unpeeled your cake already, now is a good time to unpeel the wrapper, being careful not to get the cake stuck at the corners. So just peel it all the way around and off the bottom. And then you're going to place it on top of the cake board, and this frosting is going to act like glue. Now we're going to frost the sides of the cake. So place your non-dominant hand on the top of your cake. This is going to keep it nice and steady while you frost around the outsides of the cake. And you want to hold the craft stick vertically. At this point, we're just trying to get a good coating of frosting on, and then we're going to scrape the sides so they're nice and smooth and clean. Or if you don't want them to be nice and smooth, you can also use the craft stick to make swoops and whirls and give it spikes and texture. Once you've done the sides of the cake and you've scraped them clean, you can then start on the top of the cake. So use one of your fingers to hold down the cake board on the little finger tab and then frost the side of the cake. Now for these decorations, we want the top of the cake to be fairly smooth because we're going to put fondant cutouts on the top. Scrape away any excess. If there's crumbs, you might want to have a separate bowl so you don't mix the crumbs. And now the fun part. We're going to work with the fondant. So this first cake we're going to make is a holly cake, and we need to make brown to cover the top. So we're going to knead together equal parts of white and red in order to make our brown color. And this is going to be the same for all of the holiday decorations that include brown. So just knead it together using really clean hands. Once you've got your brown fondant, you're going to roll it out into a circle that is around like 3 to 4 inches, about the diameter of your cake top. And you can use a few different things to cut out this round. You can either use a cookie cutter if you have one, a big round cookie cutter. You can also use a bowl and cut around the sides, or you can use the cake board, which is 4 inches exactly, and you can cut around that. Use a sharp knife or a bread knife, and don't worry about the sides being a little bit frayed because you can always smooth those around with a finger. The important thing with working with the fondant is that as you're rolling it out, you just continue to pick it up and move it so it doesn't stick to your surface. So I'm just smoothing the edges here because they're a little bit frayed from using a butter knife. And then this is going to get placed on the top of our cake. So just smooth it down. And this is why you want nice smooth frosting on the top. Okay. The next step for the cake is we're going to roll out some white fondant, and this is going to be the icing layer that goes on top. So it's almost like it's a Christmas cake. And this, you don't have to use a rolling pin. You could just shape this with your hands. The idea is to just get a misshapen little bit of white, so it almost looks like snow on the top. Stretch it out with your hands, and then just place it right on top. Now, if you're finding that it's not sticking, you can use a small dab of water to make sure that it sticks to the side of the cake and just smooth it over. Any little cracks that you see or holes, we're actually going to cover up with the holly leaves. So for the holly leaves, I like to use green fondant, and I roll a bowl into a bit of a snake shape so that you can get 3 equally sized pieces. So use them as a guide. And then each of these pieces, we're going to roll using slightly more pressure at one side to create a point, and then press it lightly with a finger. And then in order to create the leaf's veining, we're going to use a toothpick. So I'll just show how you shape it again, applying a little bit more pressure at one side and pinching so it's in more of a leaf shape. So press them out nice and even, and you can make these as wide as you want or as big as you want. And now you're going to take your toothpick, and if you don't have a toothpick, then your knife, and you can just score the leaf using the toothpick to make the ribbing and the veining of the leaf. And just repeat that with the other leaves. Just speeding up my process here. And then these are going to get stuck on top of the icing or the snow. And again, you can use a small dab of water to make sure that they stick. So you don't want the water to be dripping off your finger, so always tap it against the side of the bowl first. And it's a good idea to place the leaves before you add the water so you know where they're going to go, because once you put the water in, the fondant is going to stain the white fondant below, so it's harder to move them. And now for our red little berries that they're going to go with the holly. Again, I always like to roll out one piece so that you can get roughly equal shapes when you roll the bowls.